Before I begin, it is important to understand what communication is. Communication can be described as an exchange of feelings, knowledge, and wants between two or more people, says Gillian Klesi in Communication Disorders, written for Hong Kong University Press. Many people may struggle with this for different reasons to different extremes. As a student learning the usage of speech, this topic would be important to you due to the perspective that you can learn from the information that I'm going to provide. I personally have family members and friends who struggle with communication due to having an autism spectrum disorder. I will inform specifically on what autism spectrum disorders are, symptoms, treatment, and how to understand the information I'm going to provide and gain perspective. First, what is an autism spectrum disorder? An autism spectrum disorder can be described as a condition characterized by marked deficits in social interactions and communication, repetitive and rigid patterns of behavior and interests. According to the academic journal, Autism Spectrum as a Communication Disorder, a case study. The severity and symptoms range person to person. Autism is more so used to describe the condition as a whole or any type of it, being that it is a spectrum. Now everyone will have the same experience due to this. Also the fact, some people can go undiagnosed, so that means that they will go without treatment. Also, everyone growing up in different environments and responding to them differently. There is lots of debate as to how this disorder is caused. It is still vastly unknown, and being that it is genetic, scientists find it difficult to find the gene that causes it. So, there is much to discover about it. Next, I will describe the symptoms and treatments used. There are many different symptoms and they range from person to person. Yet, many of the symptoms most commonly affect communication. In fact, the earliest sign of an autism spectrum disorder is difficulty with communication. There are also just many more symptoms in general. Not all of them affect communication, but many do, directly and indirectly, which I will discuss. Using the ebook by Carol Hagelin, Getting to Grips with Asperger's Syndrome, I have found autism affects the social interactions and behaviors mostly. I will describe 4 symptoms that directly affect communication. First, inattentive behaviors. They can cause difficulty carrying and staying in a conversation. Next, the need for routine. Need for routine can cause someone to avoid communication if they find it uncomfortable and off or out of their daily routine. Then, there is the lack of skills to carry conversations. For example, not being able to read body language and social cues. The last one I'm going to describe is over or undersensitivity, which affects one's ability to respond to stimuli properly. For example, getting overwhelmed by a social interaction, which is oversensitivity, causes the inability to respond, or the opposite being undersensitivity, like for example missing a social cue. Those are more general, so here are some more specific physical signs. Poor eye contact, lack of facial expression, delayed speech, misunderstanding of instructions or directions, aggression, repetition of words and phrases, and many more. Different tones of voice and facial expressions are something that is hard to understand with this disorder. It is possible that it isn't caught at a young age, which is when treatment is most helpful. Treatments include being taught to conduct conversation and maintain social behaviors and cues, either one-on-one with a therapist or in group therapy. Therapy in general will prepare one for daily routine, communication, and behavioral skills. Medications could also be prescribed, specifically to control behaviors such as hyperactivity or anxiety. Now, to take all this information and use it. An important thing to understand is many adults go underdiagnosed, so being able to recognize the symptoms is helpful. I found in a scholarly article for the International Journal of Interactive Mobile Technologies that although someone high functioning can go into adulthood undiagnosed, they can still be subjected to difficulties when it is unknown. Not all environments are inclusive or supportive enough, which can really be a struggle in the workplace or school. Simply taking time to understand and recognize these symptoms in people, even if they are undiagnosed, can help you and others, such as teachers, fellow classmates, co-workers, and bosses, understand miscommunication that happens in the environment. Finally, I have informed you on how to use information like this and learn from a different point of view in order to enhance your own communication skills. I have described autism spectrum disorder, also known as ASD, the symptoms, specifically how they affect communication directly and indirectly, treatments used, and how to understand this and learn a new perspective. Although this is only one disorder that affects communication, there are many more. If we all take the time to understand and become more inclusive, then we can all learn new perspectives and further our own communicational skills. There are multiple scholarly articles and websites online, specifically the BC Library website, which is most helpful to me. All is very easy to access, so I encourage you to have a look for yourself to gain more understanding. Thank you for listening.